Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today we are going to do a Game Week 7 buy, sell, keep, avoid video for you guys today. We're going to have a look at some potential transfer moves we should and should not be making in this quite interesting game week with a few fixture swings, a few interesting things going on, a few injuries. Yeah, lots to talk about, guys, as always. But before we do anything else, if you wouldn't mind liking the video, it's massively appreciated. That really helps out the channel. And of course, subscribe. Road to 100k is very much underway. Come on, guys, help me out. Help me out. Do me a favour. But yeah, quick word from our sponsor today, which is, of course, OneFootball, the regular sponsor of the series. For those of you who don't know what OneFootball is, it's a great app and website for all things football. Whether you want to check out the scores, the lineups, check out some football news and gossip. Maybe you're thinking about January transfer gossip already. A little bit of that is always on OneFootball, as always. But yeah, it's really useful for checking out the results and stuff like that of games you're not necessarily watching, games around Europe. I really like it. You guys are going to like it too. It's completely free, so go check it out. Link at the top of my description. But before we do anything else, I think let's talk about the rules. So buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. These players are players with good form and fixtures. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing from your team. I don't think they're going to do too well in the near future. Keeps are players you probably have. You might be thinking about removing them, but I think you should actually keep them instead. And finally, avoids the players that are hyped up right now. A lot of people are buying in these players, but I don't think you should be going for them, guys, to be honest. So there you go. Those are the forward categories. So let's start you off with some buys. Our first buy is Marcos Alonso, so I think it's about time I admitted I was wrong on this one. So very wrong. I was convinced, and to be fair, so were most Chelsea fans, that it was only a matter of time before Chilwell replaced Alonso in the Chelsea starting 11. But after a pretty poor performance in the Carabao Cup for Chilwell, you know, a little bit of fitness issues earlier on in the season, and no sign whatsoever of any minutes in the Premier League, could it be that Chilwell has actually been permanently frozen out of the Chelsea team? Or at the very least, is he now, you know, so much out of, so far out of favour, like he's going to be playing, maybe 10% of games in the Premier League for Chelsea? Are we in a situation where Alonso's going to be playing 90% of games? Because that's kind of what we want. We don't want a player that is, is second choice, because at Chelsea, even the second choice player is still going to get minutes. What we need is a player who's very much out of favour. And I think that's where we are at in terms of Chilwell. And what we do know is that a nailed on Marcos Alonso is a FPL points gold mine. It's just very difficult to get him at a time where he is nailed on, to be honest. So Alonso, top among defenders for shots and up there for XG as well. So big chances, XG. Alonso is one of your biggest defenders in those metrics. He's got decent creativity, 12 key passes already this season. That's kind of on a level with Luke Shaw. On free kicks, he's capable of scoring those free kicks too. And then we look at these beautiful, beautiful fixtures. Southampton, Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle. And then even after that, it's really good for a long while. So clean sheets, when we look at this, they're pretty much guaranteed over this run. Plenty of them too. You wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea kept pretty much a clean sheet every single game on this run. So one reason to go for Alonso, however, over someone, slightly less attacking in that Chelsea defence is these fixtures. So when I look at Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle and Burnley in particular, all of those fixtures are in a row. These are going to give plenty of genuine goal-scoring opportunities to someone like Alonso. So since this guy essentially plays as a striker, what we're actually doing is not just picking up a defender for the clean sheets, but we're also picking up an extra attacker from the Chelsea defence, all wrapped into one player. So it's going to be a really good pick, but be prepared to be stung. It's happened many times before. Alonso will be rotated occasionally for the odd game. It always happens, and he could fall out of favour at some point or another. Football is a very, very fickle game, but as long as you have that cover on the bench, the points you will gain when Alonso does play should more than make up for any points you lose when he doesn't. Our next buy is Raul Jimenez. He is back. It seemed for a while like Jimenez just needed that one goal to restore his confidence, and he has done it. He's scored his first goal in over a year after that horrific head injury ruled him out for most of last season. I felt like this goal has been coming for a very long time. So Jimenez, he's already been racking up some impressive attacking numbers. He's kind of got the fifth most shots in the box of any player in the Premier League this season. He's had 4 big chances. 3 of those came in the last 2 games. And among forwards, he's the most creative too. You didn't see that one coming, did you? So 16 key passes ranks him 5th in the entire Premier League out of all players in the Premier League for that stat in terms of key passes. So he's also created 2 big chances and has a decent expected assist so far as well. As you know, as well as that, like I was saying, it kind of looked like goals have been coming for a while when we talk about the shots that he's been taking, particularly in the box. But it also looked like assists are going to be coming their way as well very, very soon. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. I think maybe some of the problem with that is the players around him maybe not clinical enough. You know, the finishing from those players around him means that you can create chances for other players, but if they can't finish, that won't happen. But, you know, we've got players like Huang, Podence, for example, coming in last game week, coming into the team. They're a little bit more clinical in front of goal than players like Adama Traore. So the signs, I think, are very positive. The fixtures look really good all the way until kind of game week 15. Now could be a very good chance to jump on Jimenez ahead of this Newcastle game, with Newcastle still rooted to the bottom of the table in terms of defensive statistics, kind of alongside Norwich. He could be on for a haul. You wouldn't be too surprised if he got a goal or 2 in this game, and that would absolutely be incredible. Don't forget about the assist potential as well. It's a good one. It's a good pick for the game week. Onto some sells. I've got Luke Shaw for you here. Now, I've tried to fight Luke Shaw's corner a lot so far this season, but I've kind of gradually given up, I suppose. He was the most selected player in the entirety of the FPL game in Game Week 1. I think we all expected some great things from him, and in fairness, he has delivered on some fronts. As I kind of mentioned earlier, he's been fairly creative, kind of alongside Alonso, which has led to, you know, that solitary assist and a few bonus points so far this season. But the fact is, he's not reaching the heights of some of the other great defensive options around the Premier League. So he's not matching the Man City defenders for points, or the Chelsea defenders, or the Liverpool defenders. Even the Spurs and Arsenal defenders are starting to look like better picks than Shaw, and that's when you kind of know you might be in trouble. 5.5 million is a premium price for a defender, and we need more than just a couple of key passes per game. The defenders, you know, their money maker is always the clean sheet. Anything else is kind of a bonus, and this is without even talking about the fact that Luke Shaw is, you know, doubtful for the Everton game, by the way. But 1 clean sheet in 6 games, that's just not good enough really for that price. And I'm not really going to speculate too much on the injury stuff. We don't know what's going to go on. We'll probably get some more information soon. And by the time you watch this video, you might have already even have that information. But the thing is that Chelsea are about to begin this huge fixture swing, meaning that Chelsea, having a Chelsea defender is pretty much going to be essential. Now, sometimes I talk about slam dunk transfers, right? Transfers that are so obvious that they do all the work for you. Now, Luke Shaw to a Chelsea defender this game week is that slam dunk transfer. It's the transfer. It's the transfer you want to be making. And it's going to be really a case of which Chelsea defender can you afford to replace Shaw with. And I would pick the most expensive player that you possibly can, and then, you know, if you can't afford one of the more expensive ones, then I guess you go for a cheaper one. But I guess in order of priority for a long-term pick, my favourites to least favourite to Chelsea defenders to go for, I would go Alonso as the top choice, then Rudiger, then I guess Azpilicueta, but he's just more expensive anyway. So if you're not going for Alonso, I'd say go for Rudiger. You can pretty much skip Azpilicueta, even though he is still a very good option who you should consider. But finally, in an emergency where you really are strapped for cash, you could go for Christensen, but only consider Christensen if you really are strapped for cash. Don't try and cut corners if you don't have to on this one, because Christensen is going to be rotated occasionally. So our next sell is Diogo Jota. Fellow Jota owners, finally we have got our return in Game Week 6. Interestingly, you guys might remember I actually had Jota down as a sell in last week's video, but kind of the more I thought about it over the course of the week, I just kind of thought, you know what, I do think he is worth one more punt. I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe Firmino was probably going to be rested for just that one last time before he does come into the team, and that was the Brentford game. However, Firmino, we did see, he came off the bench, so he's very much back in contention. Klopp has kind of reiterated that he doesn't want to play all 4 of Salah, Mane, Firmino and Jota all at the same time, which means rotation between Jota and Firmino. So, you know, there is going to be rotation there. I think that is going to start to happen from this game week. I think Jota is probably going to be starting from the bench. Firmino is probably going to be starting this game against Man City. So immediately we could be looking at a 1-pointer from Jota. That's probably what I would predict. But even, you know, if Jota and Firmino kind of rotate fairly evenly, what we're really looking at is Jota getting 70 minutes one game and then 20 minutes the next, and then 70 minutes the following game and then 20 minutes the next, rotated like that. Is that enough for you? Well, actually, I think kind of in many ways that could be pretty decent for the price that he is at. as long as the fixtures are good. But unfortunately, the fixtures are not particularly amazing, and Liverpool play the trickiest defence in the entire league next. So maybe a fairly good time to jump off Jota at this point, particularly if you're eyeing up wildcards and things like that. On to some keys. So we're going to start you off with Cristiano Ronaldo. So since he's arrived in the Premier League, no other forward has matched Ronaldo's attacking numbers. He's number one for shots and shots in the box across all players in the Premier League since he arrived. And kind of only Salah has beaten his shots on target, big chances and expected goals accumulated as well. And even that's kind of marginal. It's pretty clear and easy to say that Ronaldo has lit up the league since his arrival. And I really would make sure you guys don't let one game against Villa change your mind on that. Don't let that kind of cloud your judgment on that one. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, I want Lukaku. I get that. And if you're on a wild card, I think you probably go for that. It's a good, it's a good long-term transfer that you can make for absolutely free, if you're on a wild card. But, however, Lukaku plays against Southampton this week. With Ronaldo against Everton, I don't think there's too much difference in the defences of Everton and Southampton. They've recorded very, very similar defensive numbers. So some of you guys might be thinking, oh, Southampton is a better fixture than Everton. I don't think that is necessarily true. Consider that Southampton, although they're recording similar defensive numbers as Everton, Southampton have actually had the tougher fixtures, which maybe means that Everton are actually the worst defence out of the two. And you kind of add to that the fact that Manchester United are simply a more attacking team, more likely to score more goals in a more open game. Chelsea against Southampton, we're probably predicting 2 goals max if we're being sensible. When we pick our captain, we want a player who can haul to score a lot of points, a lot of goals. And I genuinely believe that Ronaldo is more likely to haul than Lukaku this week. At the very least, there's probably not too much in it. So selling Ronaldo removes a primary captain option for the week and replaces him with a good but slightly worse one. This is all my opinion, of course. Feel free to disagree. But if you want to sell Ronaldo for Lukaku, I love the move, but I would just wait for one more game week because honestly, in the best case scenario, I think it's a sideways move. If I'm talking genuinely, I do prefer Ronaldo to Lukaku for this game week. My next keep is Jack Grealish. Now, I kind of get that it's easy to sell a player ahead of a tough game like Liverpool, but Liverpool are not impenetrable. We kind of saw that in the Brentford game. And, after that game, Man City also have their fixture swing. Finally, they've got their fixture swing from game week 8, where we see a lot of much nicer fixtures for Man City, kind of in a row. Now, I've spoken a lot about how I like the look of Man City defenders for that swing, but if you want to go for a Man City attacker, there's really only one player that I'm currently considering, to be honest, and that's Grealish. So if you have him already, that's even more reason to keep him in your team. So out of all of the Man City attackers, Grealish looks to me to be the number one. He is seemingly nailed, having started every game so far this season. That's kind of not really too surprising given how much he cost. You would expect him to be a mainstay, but that is a huge bonus when we're talking about Man City players, just to have a player who is playing every single game. He has been the most creative at the club for this season by some margin. 18 chances created already. That is loads. He's also taking plenty of shots from dangerous positions as well. He's had a few really good opportunities to score. He has already scored for Man City as well. And you kind of get the impression that now City are finally going to have a decent run of fixtures. Out of the attackers, we probably think that Grealish could benefit. Of course, it's hard to pick just one out of those City attackers, but all the signs to me so far are pointing to Grealish. So I would personally give him a little bit while longer to prove himself, I guess, before selling him. So he's a keep for me. On to some avoids. We'll start you off with Joao Cancelo. Whilst we're on the topic of Man City players, I guess, Cancelo is an absolute must-have. You absolutely must buy him in Game Week 8, not Game Week 7. So like I was saying earlier, a huge part of premium defenders is getting those clean sheets. Now, City are the best defence in the league, so that's great for clean sheets. We love that. But in Game Week 7, they play the best attack in the league in Liverpool. So although some of you guys will be super keen to use your free transfer on Cancelo, you can really afford to wait just one more week. I'm not saying City are definitely going to concede, but if there is one game during the entire season where you would expect them to let in a goal, it's the away game against Liverpool, right? So as much as we love Cancelo, unless you're on a wild card, just be patient, roll the transfer, save the transfer, or use your transfer on someone else if you want to. I'm sure whoever you have right now in that kind of price bracket, it's probably not going to be too much worse than Cancelo. I've seen a lot of people talking about taking -4s to free up some money to get Cancelo into their team. don't do it. You don't need to do that. Just wait. Game week 8 onwards is great for, the City boys. You don't need them right this very second. And our final avoid is Mateo Kovacic, our second appearance for Kovacic this season. So a lot of people are kind of interested in this Chelsea fixture swing that begins this game week. As such, everyone is kind of racing to see what Chelsea players they can fit into their team. In general, that's a great idea. But as for Kovacic, I don't think so. So I know he has a few attacking returns this season, which is probably ticking, ticking some boxes and tricking some brains into kind of thinking that he's a good FPL asset. But one of the golden rules of FPL is do not ever pick a defensive-minded midfielder. It's like a golden rule for a very good reason, because even when they seem to be performing well, the underlying stats often point to a very different picture, I guess. And the underlying stats show that Kovacic is kind of massively overperforming right now, and perhaps maybe a little bit lucky to have as many FPL points as he has. So fair enough, he has probably earned his one goal based on XG alone, although even saying that, we do expect Kovacic to underperform on his XG because he's not, he's not a fantastic finisher. So even when his XG looks good, we do actually, in real terms, if we're using XG in the correct way, we actually expect Kovacic to underperform on their XG over the course of a longer period of data. As per for the assists, he's got 3 assists off an expected assist of 0.74. And when you look at some of the assists, you can kind of see that maybe he's been a little bit unlucky, to get those FPL points, because maybe on another day he would not get those assists, but look, overall, Kovacic is a great player. His role in Chelsea, however, is not to score goals. It's not to create directly. Over the course of the season, you're probably going to see him regress to the mean a little bit and score quite poorly in FPL terms over the course of the entire season. He's kind of just... I know a lot of people will look at his price and look at his points and think, oh my god, I found the solution to my desire to get Chelsea players in my team. I just don't think Kovacic is the solution. Arguably, none of those Chelsea midfielders are the solution. Lukaku is the solution. The Chelsea defenders are the solution. As for Kovacic, he's got to go down as a big old avoid. So to summarise, Chelsea defenders is, that's what you want this week if you don't have them already. If you kind of don't grab them one this week, you might find yourself getting left behind slightly. Now, Luke Shaw is an obvious sacrifice if you can manage it to get rid of him. Fair enough. City defenders, on the other hand, they can wait one more week, so just be a little bit patient on that one. I know a few of you guys will also be dropping Ronaldo this week. I would advise to keep him for just one more week. Of course, if you're in a wild card, it's a slightly different situation. But Ronaldo, he's a great captain option. I would want to keep him and potentially captain him against Everton. And I guess finally, don't buy Chelsea midfielders because they're either all defensively minded or they're incredible rotation risks. So there you go. There's your summary. Thanks for watching this video today, guys. If you did enjoy it, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe, of course, if you are new around here. Hashtag road to 100k. Let's go. Guys, I know a lot of you guys have been asking me about wildcards and wildcard videos and stuff like that. There's going to be plenty of wildcard content this week. Don't you worry. I just want a little bit more time to think about it. But the wildcard videos are on their way. Don't worry about that. And we're going to try and help you out with some of your wildcards. Don't worry. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, stay in the FPL Mate zone, I guess. But there we go, guys. Thanks once again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.